Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'm Scott Urbis, Curator of Decorative Arts and Design here at the museum. And before we get started, I'd please ask that we all make sure our phones are muted. It's my pleasure to introduce everyone to this evening's visiting artist, Victoria Ahmadizadeh Melendez. Victoria is the inaugural recipient of the biennial Adele and Leonard Leight Glass Art Award, which supports commissioned work by emerging and mid-career artists who work with glass, which makes Victoria a perfect fit. The award was generously created and endowed by Peter, Jonathan, and Jenna Leight in honor of their parents, and Peter and Jonathan are with us this evening. Thank you so much for making this possible. And their goal and my goal was to ensure that their parents' really vibrant, internationally recognized collection of contemporary glass stayed vibrant, that it continued to grow and evolve over the years. And Victoria's commissioned work, which was on view in Gallery 1, so just across the glass bridge when you depart, really embodies this creative vitality inherent within the Leight collection. Victoria is based in Philadelphia and, as we'll see, works across multiple modes of glass, from blown to neon. And she's exhibited her work in many venues, including San Francisco's Museum of Craft and Design, the Corning Museum of Glass, and the Tacoma's Museum of Glass. And she's, if that wasn't enough, honestly, she's also widely sought as an arts educator. She works as an adjunct professor at the Tyler School of Art and teaches at our schools across the country. I could not believe how busy you were teaching and also working on this major commission. Tonight, Victoria will share with us her journey as an artist and also her conception and creation of the Leight Award Commission. Victoria.
Thank you, Scott, for the introduction. Thank you to the Speed Art Museum for having me, and also to the Leight family for your kindness and support. Thank you so much. And thank you all for being here for this really special milestone in my life and career. I'd like to start out by giving some background about myself. Then I'll discuss some of the experiences and inspiration that influenced my new commission for the Speed. And then I'll conclude by showing some past bodies of work, as well as the writing that informed that work. I began making art with glass in 2008 as a student at Tyler School of Art in Philadelphia. I was about 20 years old when I began working with the material. I started with learning glass blowing in the hot shop, or furnace work, as some would call it. My mentor was an artist named Jessica Jane Julius. Jessica was really inviting and inclusive. She has a very enthusiastic, contagious energy. So I don't know if I would have stuck with glass if I hadn't had that kind of introduction to the material. And so now that I am a teacher, I really strive to provide that atmosphere for my students. As I continued to work with glass, I learned other ways to use the materials, such as flame working, pictured above, and you might find some of those components in an installation in the gallery. Learned flame working, glass casting, fusing, stained glass, and eventually neon. So I had already been working with glass for about 10 years by the time I discovered and fell in love with neon. It has become a really big part of my practice recently, and I've been combining blown and solid glass objects with neon light in my most recent sculptures and installations. This pictured here is the spring issue of American Craft magazine, and this article, A Neon Renaissance, is highlighting the projects of an artist collective I am a member of called She Bends. She Bends celebrates female, trans, and non-binary artists who design and bend their own neon, which is somewhat unusual being that it was a male-dominated trade for so long, and oftentimes contemporary artists who use neon in their practice will design an image and then pass it off to a bender, a neon bender, we call the fabricator, at a sign shop. So having someone who is the artist conceiving of it and also fabricating it, that is unique and something we're seeing people doing now. As I mentioned, I am a teacher year-round, and I have taught at my alma mater, Tyler School of Art and Architecture in Philly, for 8 years now as an adjunct. I am also the former director of a program called the Bead Project, bead as in like a glass bead. And so that program is run out of Urban Glass in Brooklyn. It's a nonprofit glass center. And this program awards full scholarships to femme-identifying people for a 10-week experience that not only teaches them how to create flame-worked glass beads and jewelry, but also how to photograph, market, and sell that work, so professional practices. And so you can see here on the left, we're preparing for our trunk show, which was the big finale of the class. We'd set up displays and sell our work. And then on the right, you can see my students flame working. And I'm really proud, actually, everyone in this image is still creating glass. So something wonderful about the bead project was that we were really able to show people how to carve out space for creative practice in their life and help retain their presence in the studio so that they actually become part of the glass community at Urban Glass instead of just taking one class and then leaving. I am Persian American. My dad is from Iran originally, and my mother is from Puerto Rico. This is a picture of my family pretty much right before I was born. I'm the youngest of 3. Oftentimes, when my work is using motifs of jewelry and adornment, that is a direct reference to my mother and our relationship because she is an avid collector of all manner of jewelry. So this neon piece pictured is called Mija, which is like daughter, got called that a lot. And it is based on a charm bracelet that she used to wear with silhouettes for each of her children. Here is an old photo of some of the Persian women in my family, my great-grandmother, my grandmother, and my aunt. So my aunt Nahid, that's her as an adult standing next to me in the Barnes Museum in Philly. She visited us in 2023, and that was the first time I got to ever meet her in person. I was very afraid the interaction would be sort of stiff and awkward because I don't speak Farsi and we had never met physically before. I also sort of have some shame surrounding not being fluent in Farsi. So I was really worried about communicating with her, but instead Nahid showed me some of the greatest unconditional love that I have ever felt and immediately treated me as her own child. And I now keep in touch with her regularly, and my new work really sort of boils down to capturing this pure love that she showed me, an unbreakable bond that can't be affected by things like politics, borders, or even speaking different languages. My life and career was set upon a truly amazing path when I received a month-long residency at the Corning Museum of Glass in November 2023. It just triggered a lot of realizations about myself and my work and began a sort of chain reaction that led to what you will see in Gallery 1 today. While in residence at Corning Museum, my work was also actually sort of by coincidence exhibited as part of a collaborative project organized by an artist collective called Related Tactics. The exhibition was called Disclosure, the Whiteness of Glass, and was meant to highlight BIPOC makers working in glass and drew attention to the lack of POC leadership in our medium. Artists were paired and asked to sort of react to each other in a game of artistic telephone. For my part in the project, I received a written down record of an amazing spoken word poem by Joyce Scott. Joyce is an amazing artist. Her work is in Adele and Leonard's collection. There's a piece on view right now. And in that writing she gave me that I was asked to react to and make a piece of art in reaction to, she said, "Think of a wall that is also a bridge." And that idea really impacted me and influenced this piece. In this work, I also explore my identity as a light-skinned woman of color. My mother is Afro-Latina and often told me growing up that I'm not really Puerto Rican because I was born with a fair skin tone. What's unfortunate is that she thought this was a good thing and would make my life easier. But her saying this was something that separated me from my culture that I needed to unpack over the course of many years. I've gradually learned that regardless of my appearance and regardless of the pressure I experienced as a young person to assimilate, my ancestors and heritage will always be accessible to me, and those are the things that make me who I am. So this piece and the response I received from it at the time, it was encouraging just in terms of processing the complexities of my identity through my work, and all of this was going on and going through my mind as I was an artist in residence at Corning. A major theme in my work that I leaned into while at that residency is the idea of the eternal light of the soul, an inner essence everyone possesses that cannot be marred or taken away by any external force. Back home in Philadelphia, I actually attend Quaker meetings, and this inner light is an idea that Quakers talk about. I recently was amazed to find out that artist James Turrell was also Quaker and sought to convey notions of inner light with his work. And I found that very sort of amazing and inspiring because I had admired his work for many years, not knowing that he was also Quaker. This is a much older project involving candlelight, and it was work I used to apply to the Corning residency, and it took me a while to realize, but it has always sort of been about the endurance of the eternal light of the soul, and also just like a sort of personal resilience. And there's a detail, the mask is flame-worked borosilicate glass, so little pieces made separately and then combined to create the overall form. So, of course, you have either seen the new installation or will be seeing it very shortly, but I'd like to show you some process photos from creating the new commission that the Speed Art Museum is acquiring. Together, the 3 panels in the triptych on the right hand of Gallery 1 are titled An Infinite Flame, a bird who still chirps hello from thousands of years ago, an overflowing abundance that takes hold when I remember you, an open window inside my heart where you should be. I view the 3 titles as lines of a poem that flow together as you look at the pieces in the gallery from the left to the right. And that'll make more sense when you see the work if you haven't already. This body of work draws influence from ancient glass that was created in the Middle East. I was studying these forms during my residency at Corning and then replicating them, but with my own stylistic choices, kind of giving these things a contemporary update and bringing them back up in our collective consciousness and culture. I fell in love with this object that is a sort of glass lantern. It was used as a candle holder, or it could be an oil lamp. And this was made in the 13th century in what is now Iran or nearby. You know, they think it's in that general area, that general region. And I fell in love with just trying to figure out how it could be that they would make this exquisite object with such little equipment and resources, the way that it is enameled. You know, even with the best materials today, that is difficult, painstaking work to do. So I fell in love with this object and then sought to figure out how it was made and create my own versions of it. And this was a version that I made at the Tacoma Museum of Glass last summer. I had a week to work with their hot shop team. And so we were working on that design, and I was able to ask more experienced makers how they would go about making this sort of object. I was also interested in this ewer from the foreground of this image, and with my friends at Pilchuck Glass School, also last summer, we ended up making this large solid glass version of the form. It does weigh 20 pounds. It's 20 pounds of solid glass. This object has been my baby for the past year. It's like, the gradation, the change in color is created by, the color is called iris gold, and it's a silver, even though it's called iris gold, it's a silver bearing color. A silver makes yellow in glass, and as it's reheating, it creates a variation of tones that you can't totally control and is really, really beautiful. Another element of this project, the two-dimensional neon designs that are on the wall paired with the objects, they come from recently collecting what I'm thinking about as found Persian carpet designs. So I'll take pictures of the floor when I notice them in the spaces that I'm in, as a reminder that my culture is everywhere. After tracing this particular design in Illustrator, I was able to turn it into a pattern to create a neon sign of it. Some of the other motifs in the work, particularly the blue decorative objects in the archway, those are taken after a design of a mirror mosaic my grandfather made that is still on the wall in a house that is still in my family. When bending neon, I start with a 4 to 5 foot long glass tube, and I'm heating each individual bend one at a time. So you can see the one closest to us. Maybe you can't see on the screen, but it's a little bit different color. It's more orange than yellow because it's cooling down. It's like the bend that I just made. The process of neon bending is infamous for its brain teaser-like qualities. First of all, you're looking at whatever the design is backwards the entire time you are creating it. Secondly, many forms require what is known as a closing bend, or an area of the design that is skipped over and then bent at the very end to complete the form. This technique prevents the neon bender from getting trapped at a sort of dead end where they would physically be unable to continue bending the tube into its final design. Here is a great and simple example of a closing bend. You'll also notice I have a hose attached to one end of the tube and a cork at the other. So this is because when the tube is heated, the glass thickens and collapses. So we blow following each bend to reinflate the tube to its original diameter. This requires us to balance temperature with the timing of our movements and the pressure of our breath. So each bend is a little different every time you're reacting to the moment. Many colors in neon are created with a phosphor powder coating that is inside of the glass tube. This phosphor-coated tubing is quite expensive and much harder to work with. The glass is just more temperamental and prone to thermal shock. Glass does not like a rapid temperature change. It causes it to crack and break. So this commission for the Speed is actually my first project ever made exclusively with phosphor-coated tubing. And it's exciting because the colors are so rich and wonderful, and it really opens up my color palette quite a lot. So here you can see when the sign is off, this bird appears to be yellow, but he is actually bright orange when combined with the color of the gas inside the tube. So all the tubes in the gallery are filled with argon gas and a teeny tiny drop of mercury, which works together to generate a blue light. So the blue light combined with the tone of the phosphor powder will create the color that we see. So same goes, this is orange, but same goes for the magenta and yellow and the other shades you see. There is a limit to how many feet of tubing we can use to create a single piece of neon. And this is because when they put the noble gas inside, they have to hook the piece up to a vacuum manifold and have the whole tube under vacuum. So if you look really closely, there is a tube on one end of the piece, a little pipette tube on the right-hand side, and that is where we can hook it up to the vacuum manifold and get gas and trap gas inside. and then it's melted shut to actually trap that gas inside. So that being said, there's a limit to how big one piece of neon can be. And so for that reason, many works are created by making separate parts that come together in the end. So here are all the parts to the central piece in the gallery laid out backwards on my workbench back in Philly, trying to figure out if all the parts will fit together, if I need all those parts, if I want to change the arrangement at all. This is definitely the most detailed, ornate piece I have ever created in neon, and I'm very excited to finally see it all together on the wall and lit up. And I'm very excited for you to see it if you haven't already. And this leafy frond was just a wonderful challenge, figuring out how to get the tube to bend around to make the stem and all of the leaves. It's always a wonderful puzzle to solve. Kind of going back to a note about She Bends, a project I was part of last summer was a collaboration with my friend Kristen Baker. Kristen and I were paired up as mentor and apprentice for something that She Bends was calling the Neon as Soulcraft Residency. Kristen had done a little bit of neon, but really wanted to explore text in her apprenticeship with me. And as a result, we created a collaborative mind map that spans the gallery space. These images are from our second iteration of our collaborative project. We first exhibited it at the Museum of Craft and Design in San Fran, and later at Grizzly Gallery in Philadelphia this past spring. And I'm including this project here because if I hadn't gone through this scale of a project and mapping it out in the gallery with Kristen, I'm not sure I would have really known where to start with designing and mapping out the new work here in Gallery 1. There are a lot of considerations trying to make things that are the right scale in relation to the space and any three-dimensional objects that may be involved, ordering the right amount of material while staying in budget, trying to pace out the schedule of how the project will be made around your everyday life and other tasks. And of course, you want the installation to look good when it crosses the country and gets mounted on the gallery wall, potentially a gallery wall, potentially the wall of a gallery you've never even set foot in, which was the case for Kristen and I with Museum of Craft and Design. So it was a really valuable experience that prepared me for this opportunity. Blown glass and neon are the materials I use the most in my work, but you can also see that I pull in a lot of other materials, a lot of other media and influences, including found objects, fibers, printmaking, other 2D work, and the poetry and prose that I write. I went to VCU in Richmond, Virginia for grad school, and during my second year there, just about 10 years ago, is when I switched gears a bit and began using things I write as a lens through which to explain and express what I'm making. Sometimes I think about the gallery space as a blank page I could write across, with objects acting like phrases. I extract phrases from my writing, making them tactile as images and objects. When making table settings or arrangements of objects, like this one on its staircase, I also think about something called the half scene, which is a traditional table setting used in Persian culture to celebrate the new year, which in that tradition is on the first day of spring. In that setting, simple things like flowers, mirrors, candles, and fruit can take on complex symbolic meanings. So thinking about the half scene helps me give myself permission for the objects I make, as well as the personal meanings I assign to them. As you've seen with my neon work, actual text does show up in my pieces sometimes. I love thinking about playing with text as a material, but I think choosing where and how it will appear and making sure that it is well placed is the hardest part of what I'm doing for me. I am inspired by artist Jenny Holzer, who stated, "I want to work to pull from good and ghastly text to offer these to people and present them in ways that are lovely and exacting." For the next slides of my work, I'm going to go through a couple of past exhibitions, and I'll read some of this writing to you as the images go by. Take a little water break. I had a friend who taught me the lessons of dimensions 1 through 10, only to disappear into 4. She told me life was infinite, but I don't know where she went. The mind is a shape-making machine, and when I washed my face that night, he was unpacking his suitcase in an altered state of consciousness. I shake here, I mumble, what is there to place on a free moment? The subway is a tunnel of movement, creating portraits in phase space. For now, I will just ride away, laughing and crying at the same time. You seem invested in an amnesiac's equilibrium, an internal logic that makes me sneer. When you lie, it's like I've got dust in my eyes, the spectacle of selective memory. You are a lovely hinge, an extension of my energy. This continent feels our love from end to end. A path exists between every home from there to here. While you roam through frozen waters, I boil here in an oblivious dream. Both hands fell off, falling to shatter, and I awakened to see your long lashes peering slightly from your sleeping bag, a small dead fly on all 3 windowsills, and a night owl bus squawking past each pane. The forms we see live only through transition, just like roads bordered with houses. And the very fact that they can still see you alive and in person is amazing. I thought that being free and content would be the absence of longing, free from thoughts of what could be missing, content that you can just keep going without stopping, that you can perform a simple action that will someday amount to something. I found what was most important to me was to create objects that could reveal the redeeming moment, the banishment of longing, the feeling of coasting downhill, barely a thought for the past or the future, the moment in which you realize you can keep going without stopping, that everything has amounted to something. I just want that feeling of euphoria with no breaks. Soul bleaching that comes when you are alone, making pace. With the most unkind morsels of the self removed, so that you can go free and content. The first thing I'll do is return to Ringer's circle and imagine you there, a lad who didn't die. And you will never die. You will never be 30. You will never be grown. You will always be covered in tiny hieroglyphs, strange little pictures drawn in blue and red ink lines. Beautiful, you spit into the fire. Why did you look up to me? I only ever looked across at you. I wish I had enough eyes to meet your stare with confidence. In a daydream, a flag emblazoned with every color hangs boldly in my window. A filter for your boundless ill will, I stare at the back of your neck for practice. I'll meet you under the ice. I'm convinced that you could take any form, the real, the imagined, the physical, the spiritual, with a voice I've never heard and a face I've never seen. Indelibly solid, you are the ice, made tangible from water. You're clear green. Now that the nights are chill and the annuals spent, I should have thought them gone, not so. As I read the words and looked at the people down below, I could feel the whole world passing through me in an unbroken stream. If you want to be like me, just cross a cat with a dog, dig a grave and pitch a tent over it, make only one enemy and no money. Submerge a flower underwater, melt a candle until only the wick is left, and write me a letter when you're sick of it all. These are the pictures that I choose to frame, just sort of slithering in the wind. I watch as they plucked the petals off of all of the daisies in an attempt to quench their love sickness. As we indulge in simple acts of wishing and fortune-telling, we make ourselves vulnerable to joyful affirmation and spoiled desire. They said, sometimes this moment tastes like cherries, but sometimes it tastes like nothing. Lost without fields to fill, I don't know what those tinted glasses do to soften the edges of every moving thing, beneath you, through you, and there without you. As I reply, looking into your eyes, examining them closely to find little pins like gems inside, a quiet life a couple of times over. They said, I can't wait to be an angel, not hardened, but healed. My heartache will melt to joy. I'll be invisible but free. The billboard reads, no cuts, no pain, no stitches, no scars. The next day, I pedal around in circles, trying to lift up the edges of my understanding, unsure as to how this could possibly spare you and everyone you know. A tangled distance, a curled plume of smoke, another futile message. How can I help you when all I ever do is evaporate? Our paths of communication became eclipsed, the aperture closing as you slowly glide away. I need to unlock the world, twist it so that I can sidle over to you. I am still without dreams. The spirit of the lake holds out her arms to me. The static dances at her feet. Be, ebb, enter. I lay in bed and look at the moon. I skate across it. I trace my path within it. The best things never seem to happen. I grasp onto the exterior of a fabricated possibility. My mother told me that my birthmark came from the moon, a gash opened up by the lunar eclipse she happened to see. She told me that when I die, God will remember this mark, the stain of moonlight splashed aside my neck. When my mother came here from Puerto Rico, her family gave her gold chains and other jewelry and told her to sell them when she reached her destination. She did this but regretted having to part with these objects. Now she loves to collect jewelry, charms, chains, and trinkets, determined to show that she can have and keep them. Although I wasn't alive when this happened, the story is etched into my memory. Her words taught me that objects like experiences can be fleeting. The springtime blooms and then bursts. Tokens of money and memory come and go in a churning wheel of recycled energy. A chain is something that could be a gift or a snare, maybe both. The links dissolved in the water. The light sank into the sky. She walked across it like a tightrope, a glimmering thread from there to here. Never one place or the other, instead in a third place of going. I need a tether to the places I don't remember being from, a beauty to follow the hollow of my collarbone, a prize for having and being. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. We have time for a couple of questions. If anybody has anything, can bring the mic over. If not, we've got one here. Great.
How do you transport these?
Oh my goodness. The question is, how do you transport these? Packing is not my favorite part of being a glass artist. So the neon components, this seems crazy, but we often tape the pieces down to cardboard because, we're making the bends and laying the piece flat on the table. So that front face is nice and flat usually. So we'll have it face down on cardboard and tape it down. If it's going to get shipped, it's good to get foam, soft foam, like what you would use for upholstery, like a cushion, and carve out the shape or word, whatever the sign is, and pocket it in there. We call that cavity packing. So that is like the best you can do that I really know of, you know. But, you know, working with institutions like the Speed Art Museum, you know, it's wonderful. They'll coordinate art handlers and everything to come to the artist studio to get the work, and they'll kind of collaborate with you to make sure that everything will get there safely the way they have to transport it. So that part of the process was really wonderful with this project.
How did you first discover art? What inspired you?
Oh, wow. How did I first discover art? I mean, I remember painting a rainbow as like a 5-year-old. Like, that's still like a really vivid memory, like watercolor painting the rainbow for the first time and things. I was always super gravitated towards art class and painting and drawing. And, you know, we would get this pad of yellow lined paper with our desk on the first day of school, and I would just blow through that pad of paper in a couple days, drawing portraits of everyone in class, and then I would draw their portrait and then give it to them. So, you know, I kind of am one of those people. I think I started telling people I wanted to be an artist or go to college to be an artist somewhere in like middle school, much to my parents' horror. Although they're very supportive now, and they love to see, you know, the success that I've had with my work. But they were a little skeptical at first, especially when I said I was going to specialize in glass. They're like, "What do you mean?"
I really appreciate your being able to combine the cultures of your family.
Thank you.
But I saw you there with the barns. And with, do you draw any influence from things like the movements of the barns or the Philadelphia Museum of Art, the Rodin Museum?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, we were talking about when I knew I wanted to be an artist and things like that. And when I was really into painting, particularly in high school, I was like wild about impressionist painting. And so the Barnes is like a dream for that. It's just phenomenal. Yeah. I think, you know, I saw my first piece of neon art in the PMA. It was the Bruce Nauman piece, True Artist Helps the World by Revealing Mystic Truths. It's words that go in a spiral, and it's playing with the idea of neon as advertisement. And before I ever knew anything about glass or neon, I loved that piece. I don't think they have it up right now, but that definitely was an influence in the PMA.
One more question over here. And Victoria, did you have your social media handle on your last slide?
I do.
If you want to put that back up, if you want to follow and continue to watch Victoria's career emerge. Continue growing and growing.
Thank you for your talk. When you spoke to the shame of not speaking Farsi, I felt that because most of my people in my family are Latino. It wasn't spoken to me growing up, so I was unable to speak it. And
I can't roll an R to save my life. It's terrible.
And based on my physical form, people expect me to be able to code switch because I am African American, but I cannot. So I guess, how do you reconcile this lack of cultural identity in your community, and how do you reconcile that with within your art?
I mean, art is an amazing tool for answering questions, right? Like answering questions in your life or things that you're wondering about the world. And art has been an amazing tool to help me parse those things out and realize that, my identity is valid whether or not I speak those languages fluently. And, my experience, it's just part of how my experience happened and what makes my experience unique and what makes my identity unique. And it would be enjoyable to learn more of my parents' respective languages, but I feel like now I could do that from a place of like, oh, this is for fun, and not like, oh, this is because I have to like prove myself, or I should be able to do this thing if I carry this identity and say that's who I am. And this question also makes me think of how empowering glass is as a medium. Before I started working with glass, I had a lot of feelings like this, that my identity was not valid, that I didn't have enough knowledge about either of my cultures, that, I wouldn't have described myself as like, that confident or strong of a personality. I was maybe a little more timid, and of course I was much younger. But I think that, there's something about the physicality of working with glass and how challenging it is, and you practice and gradually unlock doors and kind of surprise yourself and break down these barriers. And hopefully in that process, you're surrounding yourself with your people, like people who support you, and you end up having these deeper conversations about stuff like that. So, I think like just glass as a medium has helped me mature as a person and accept all the parts of myself so much over the years. So much.
Awesome. Well, let's give one more round of applause for Victoria.
Thank you.
And our galleries are open until 8 p.m. tonight, so please head over the bridge and check out Victoria's installation. Also, if you've not viewed the Leight collection of glass, there are several pieces on display on our second floor. So enjoy your evening.